Welcome everybody to Sketch Zone, the podcast.
Is that your hint to tell us to hire someone to sing our theme song?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to the Sketch Zone podcast. I am Carlos Gomez, and this week we are speaking to an art director from Capcom. He's also a writer, an illustrator, and allegedly a love-struck husband, Mr. Geoff Coates. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And we have Charlie B. Williams III.
What's up, everyone? I'm here. Happy to be here
Woo woo.
for another week.
Woo.
Yep.
And Jack Kasperzak.
Hello. I won't sing a theme song. I am just glad to be here.
Thank you. Jack, you're so thoughtful. Thank you.
You guys make me
You're welcome.
crack up.
Yeah. Take notes, Carlos.
All right, kids. So we need to talk about this problem that I have.
Jeez.
If you're about to say what I think you're going to say.
It's not Candy Crush.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm good. What's your
It's
problem?
my other problem where I just send everyone else my money and then I wonder why I'm broke.
Oh, who'd you fund this week?
Yeah.
Daddy Warbucks.
It's not. I work hard and I give it all away. So Charlie shared this link with me, or with us, over the weekend, or not over the weekend, just
I know what you're going to say.
and it was an Indiegogo for this really neat little thing called Sticky Bones.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm an enabler. Jack, I'm an enabler. I'm sorry.
You are horrible. You're horrible.
You know, I didn't even think about it till just
They
now.
are cool.
Yeah.
I looked at that like when they first were talking about launching, and I was like, oh, I would buy that. I know a bunch of people who would buy that, and then it came up live, and I was like, I'm gonna not send this to Carlos. I'm gonna save his wallet.
Yeah,
And then Charlie went,
Don't worry, I'll do it.
yeah, you know, I didn't even think about it. I'm like, like tempting the addict.
So for those out there who don't know what it is, it's like a stop motion puppet kit. You get these cool little, what are they? Resin, plastic? What are they?
I think so. Yeah.
I think
they like
made out of
but they like-
magnets, maybe.
Yeah, they like snap and pop together, so you
But
can.
they're super weighted too, so you can like
Yeah.
literally like if you want the dude like looking like he's about to fall over on one leg, you can like do that, and
Or you can pose them like, you know how ice skaters really stretch themselves out and then they just like do this long elegant circle around the rink, kind of like that. So yeah, I got it. Whatever, don't judge me. I got it because those wooden pose.
Oh, those are terrible. I don't know.
Those are absolutely horrible.
I don't know how those ever became a thing in the art community.
Jeff, do you have any of those?
the maquette thing.
Those, yeah.
If anyone has seen my anatomy drawings, they know I have nothing like that.
Nice.
I am still trying to figure out how to draw hands. So.
Yeah, that's always a tough one. But you
Yeah.
have these little mannequins or maquettes or whatever they're called, the wooden ones, are absolutely horrible. I hate them. I'm trying to, and that's one of the things. I'm trying to add more dynamics to my poses. Or trying to draw more dynamic poses, I guess.
Yeah, the wood is possible to use that for.
Yeah, they're horrible. So that's why I got Sticky Bones.
And your
So
life
there.
has changed.
Well, no, not yet, because it's an Indiegogo, and now we're just waiting for them to go into production. And
So what does that
Blah,
mean?
blah, blah.
How different is Indiegogo from Kickstarter?
For me, it's the same. It cost me the same amount of money. They take the money just as quick.
There really is no difference now. It used to
No,
be
it's
where Kickstarter, you had to make your goal to get any money at all, and in Indiegogo, you would just get whatever people contributed. But now, I think you can do either on either platform.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only difference is Kickstarter has the name recognition,
Yeah.
and Indiegogo is just kind of making its way up. People know about it now.
Okay.
So really, it's not a Kickstarter addiction now. You've at least
Now it's
changed.
just-
You've
now
changed
it's
drugs.
Yeah, I need to. I just need to put my wallet away. Is what I need to do.
Just say no.
Just say no.
We need to put Carlos on like a DARE program. We have to call it something. I got to figure it out.
Dare to keep your money. Dare to retire on time.
Donation abuse resistance education.
We just send off-duty cops to his house, talking about the horrors of bad Kickstarter funding.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh man.
And then I also wanted to chat just real quick about my new addiction, and it's awesome because
geez.
I'm not alone on this one. For those of you that haven't caught up on this yet, Jack and I started a different show, The Process Projects, and we just finished recording our 5th episode that will be released sometime soon. And basically what it is, Jack, do you want to describe it real quick?
You could go ahead, but it's basically we came up with and we had talked about this on a previous episode, but we came up with the idea that we wanted to collaborate with each other, and we were kind of confused as to how to actually complete a project because we have, like many artists I know, have a bad habit of starting a project and not completing it. So we wanted to keep ourselves accountable, but more importantly, we wanted to teach ourselves and teach other folks out there. So the premise is that we do a project and we document it every step of the way, including brainstorming, drawing, printing, whatever project it may be. And this one we're doing a kid's book.
So there.
Yeah.
And it's cool because I know I've learned a lot, and it's just getting to be really neat. And eventually, what's going to happen is we're going to need someone like an art director to come in and tell us what's good and bad about it. Speaking of art directors,
Nice. Segues are like legendary on this show.
Wow, that's how you got to it.
There it is.
that's why I get paid the big bucks, and then I give it to Indiegogo. Hey Jeff, you're an art director at Capcom in Vancouver, yeah?
Yes, I am.
Nice.
That's right.
And how did you end up in Vancouver? Have you always been from there?
Yeah, I've always. I grew up in a small town called Kelowna, which is like 4 hours east of here. But I've lived in Vancouver my whole adult life, and ended up in games in my early 20s. Just kind of fell into it, really. I was an art director at Adbusters magazine. If anyone out there knows what but it's a total non-profit magazine type of thing, and you got to be art director if you could like basically work a computer, which I did not know how to do at all.
How did you do it?
Because they paid me to. There was like this government program that I found at the employment office.
This is
This
awesome.
is literally how I got into it. Like, I was Canada. There was like this
I'm
government
telling ya,
program.
like, when people say, "Oh, America's the greatest," I'm like, "Have you not listened to pretty much every art story coming out of Canada?"
Yeah, that's everyone's an artist up here.
Ah.
They're all really well paid. So there was a program to basically pay you to take courses to learn Photoshop and whatever else, and then that kind of goes along with a job. So it was like the government basically paid my salary. So then I went to Adbusters and started working on a Mac Classic, laying out their Mac. It was the slowest thing in the world. Like I could type, and I could watch the characters showing up on screen. I could go get a coffee, and the sentence would still be typing in.
Oh wow,
That's awesome.
It was like, really nice. Yeah. So
And they're
anyway,
like, we told you to draw, and we didn't tell you to type.
And so from there, we were working with a lot of illustrators and cartoonists in Vancouver just for some of the magazine articles, and there was a couple of them who worked at this place called EA, which I never heard of before. But I had to go to the office to go pick up some stuff from them one day. And so I walk in there, and I'm working out of somebody's basement on the magazine. Like, it's pretty low to the ground, sort of a setup. And I go to EA, and to me it was like Trump Towers. It was just like cubes, and there were artists working, and they had toys on their desks, and it looked legitimate. It was pretty cool. So I applied. I think it was 1995, and I showed him my portfolio, which was really just a bunch of illustrations and cartoons, and and they gave me a job. So I started doing interface design at EA back then.
Nice.
And yeah, it was good. I worked on my first game was like a Japanese baseball game, so. Good.
Wow.
How do they get to that from cartoon portfolio? They're like, hey, you should draw interfaces.
Yeah, I didn't ask a lot of questions. I did.
Smart man.
I was doing a bit of, yeah, exactly. I did a bunch of. I had been doing a lot of layouts for like. My own, or for some freelance work. So for this guy who was making snowboard videos, I designed the covers and did a few other things, and I think that was really what made them give me a shot at it. It's not like today. Like, no one could walk into a studio with that portfolio today and get a job, but
right.
It was just kind of right place, right time.
And which studio was this? Can you remember which EA studio was this? Was it their main branch?
That was EA in Vancouver. Yeah.
Okay.
And we were small then. It was like 120 people.
Yeah.
And I left there. I stayed there for 10 years.
Oh wow.
And by the time I left, there was like 3,000 people there. So when I left.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
It was crazy. The growth was. Yeah, they built a new building, and the late 90s and the early 2000s were just huge for games. So it just took off. Yeah.
Has developing games always been big in Vancouver?
It did. It got big with EA. So EA was like the anchor studio. So as that studio grew, so we went, like I say, up to 3,000 people, and then there were a lot of spin-off studios that started that came out of that. There was Radical and Relic and something else with R. No, there's this there were hundreds of studios that came out of it. Maybe not hundreds,
but a whole bunch.
But a whole bunch for Canada and yeah.
Yeah. I think last year there was a report that said that up until recently, Vancouver was like the biggest video game centers for studios in the world. So
That's
it was huge.
neat.
Yeah, in 06 or so, I got my start. That was my first job was at EA in Chicago.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
Yeah, EA bought out a studio out in the burbs of Chicago called New Effects, and New Effects was working on a lot of their what was it? Was some of their
Like NBA Jam and
NBA
stuff, right?
Street and NBA Street stuff, and then like they were like the studio to revitalize a franchise, so they gave them like Fight Kings and stuff, and we turned it into Fight Night, and then the Def Jam series we turned it into Def Jam Icon.
That's
So from
right.
like
Yeah. I
so
remember
then
that.
Kudo Tetsunoda, the studio director, came from he was working at a couple of other places, but he was at I think EA Canada, at the main EA, and then came down, and that was like his first big studio he had it by himself from working. But he was out at EA there first,
Yeah.
out by that big huge thing, and then came down. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. When you work in games, it's amazing how, especially in Vancouver, how many people just sort of do the rotation from studio to studio to studio.
Yeah.
You have to be nice in this industry because you eventually, like, you can't burn bridges because you'll eventually work with everyone again. So.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And all those guys from EA Chicago, when Kudo left, he left, and from doing all the stuff we did here, he went on and started working at Microsoft, right? And at Microsoft, he headed up the Kinect. Then he headed up the HoloLens stuff now. But like the art director, a bunch of technical directors, everybody, all those guys are all out there at Microsoft now. They literally, all of them are there. And it took a couple of years, but all of them are out there now.
Out there in Seattle, right?
Right, they're all out there now. We used to work at. It's like EA Chicago was a really good time. So it's some of the best people I've ever worked with. So a lot of people created really, really close bonds. So those people who didn't stay in Chicago end up leaving and going out. Even if they went to other places like Bungie and all these other places, they all made their way back. And I think a lot of them are out there in Seattle now.
Nice.
Yeah, it happens. You tend to, sometimes you'll hire the people that you knew from a certain time and working on a certain title, so it tends to draw more people towards you.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot on this show where, there's a lot of people that can do 3D or 2D or whatever. The thing that's going to separate you is how your personality.
I think
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly like you said, you have to be careful. You have to make sure that you're nice because you don't know when your next job is coming, and it might come out of the blue.
Or you get to that studio you really want to be at, but then you realize that person that you may or may burn bridges with is your art director or your studio head or your lead or whatever.
You walk into an interview and the next person to come into the room to interview is that guy.
Oh. And you're like, oh man.
Might as well go home.
Is it too late to buy you coffee? Or like what happened to me once. I have a tendency to be nice, maybe sometimes too nice, but I went for an interview and it was one of the guys that interviewed me, I had placed at that place, So Geoff, I used to be a career service advisor in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And so I had placed one of my students at this game company. Well, I was applying at the game company, and the student came back and just gave me he made me feel horrible about who I was.
Oh wow! Oh, the other way. Oh
yeah. And I was like,
oh no.
And I was like, I had to go back and I was like, okay, did I make this guy mad at me? Like he was asking me like some very pointed questions, and at the end of it, I was like, well, I just wasted my time. I knew I didn't get the job. And I was like, and what it was this guy had this really, he was one of those artists that was really good in his own mind and liked giving people a hard time.
Yeah. So nice guy.
It's a real nice guy, sounds like.
Yeah.
Go
funny thing is, we ended up working together at the advertising agency in Chicago.
Oh.
And I never brought the story back up, but I always looked at him like, you remember that time?
Gave me a hard time.
I needed a job, dude. Anyway, so being a nice guy can backfire too.
Yeah.
If someone's evil.
I know, right?
The moral is don't.
It'd be
Yeah.
consistent, I guess. Don't be nice to dickheads. All right. So, so now that I got that off my chest,
Feel better? Feel better?
woo, I feel like spending money on Indiegogo. What's the day? What's a day in the life of an art director look like at Capcom?
People at work are going to hear this and laugh.
He draws a lot.
Long lunches, 3 martinis.
Nice.
Good
Well,
season of Mad Men.
right, right now, on the game that I can't talk about, we're sort of right in the middle of production. And this is a big team. So after I left EA, I've worked at a number of studios here in town. And they've ranged from being large to small teams to everything in between. And this one's quite big. So usually in the morning, it's trying to connect with people, kind of set up my meetings for the day. It's a lot of meeting people and talking to them. And at 10 o'clock, it's like doing stand-ups with people. So kind of going over everyone's tasks and then doing walk-arounds and looking at everyone's work and all those type of things. And then it's a lot of meetings. The priorities, more follow-up, and then more follow-ups and more walk-arounds later on in the day. So, and then in between all that, it's like somebody's working on an area, and I've got to get some reference together for them and shoot some stuff to them, or work with a concept artist or whatever it is. So it's a lot of little things. Yeah.
How big of a gamer are you?
I'm kind of like I'm like a moderate-sized gamer.
Yeah.
There's like the big games that I really like, and right now what I'm really enjoying are things like Tomb Raider, and I love GT. Yeah, Tomb Raider just because it looks beautiful. I love those games that are just epic stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Fallout. I wanted to get into, but that's one of those games that for me is just
boring.
Way too much of a time.
Yeah.
Say it, Charlie.
Just saying, it's boring as hell. If I want to get sleepy before I go to bed, I'm gonna play Fallout. Shout out to everybody who made Fallout. It's awesome. I understand the environments are amazing as an environment artist, but can't do it. Sorry.
It's just a lot, right? Like it's just a lot to do. So it's not my thing. So I really like GTA. Like anything Rockstar does, I'm gonna buy. GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption is still like my all-time favorite game.
I want them to do another one. I really do. It felt like watching a Great Western. Yeah.
See that game felt to me like it wasn't effortless at all, obviously, but to me it kind of felt effortless because I really feel like they made that game to work out systems that they were going to put into Grand Theft Auto later on.
Me too, yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because it was
like a lot of their games. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very big, open. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bully and all those other games.
You walk up and punch a horse.
They were made.
Yeah.
That
it really did, because it was like 2 discs, right, Jeff? It was like 2 discs at the time, which was before Blu-ray.
Right.
So it was like massive. Yeah. You felt like you got your money's worth. Well, at least I did. It was like, it was still $60, but it was 2 discs, and like it was just an epically long story. At times I was like, man, it's still going on. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. But it felt fun because like it had its highs and lows like a movie, right? So it had that low part where you're like, okay, cool. But all of a sudden something happened. Somebody gets shot or something. You're like, whoa, really? And then now you're like back into another 2 hours worth of gameplay in terms of. But it felt like Naughty Dog does that for me. All the Naughty Dog games. You feel like you're watching a great Indiana Jones-esque, wisecracking, treasure hunting thing. I mean, my wife at the time, one of the versions of the game, sat behind me for most of it and watched the whole thing, and then would proceed to yell at me when I didn't pass a certain part because I'm not getting back to the cutscene fast enough. So at one point, so like I just think they're really good, those two. But people don't give Red Dead Redemption their due. This is great that you brought that up, Jeff.
Yeah, I love that one. That one, and I think you guys won't remember this, but Grim Fandango.
Yeah,
Oh, I
I do.
remember that.
Of course, yeah.
I love that game. Like, bad time in terms of execution, in terms of the 3D and everything else, but for story and design, like that still is my favorite. And writing too, like it had humor in it, which
Yeah, it was really good.
and it did right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a good immersive story. Something like that come out again. Yeah.
That's when you need a Kickstarter, right? Like for a new version, episodic content for that type of deal, you know?
Well, that's what they do. Hey, the guy what's his name? Tim
Schafer?
Tim Schafer, right?
Yeah.
He's at double Kickstart. Don't they kickstart a lot of their titles?
That's all they do now, I think, too. They fell into the trap a little bit of like promising too much, but they still delivered. Their last game they did a really good job, and they put it out on Steam, and it had a really cool story. There was like a two-tiered story where there's two different stories or something that was happening simultaneously, or something like that with the two games. But yeah, I think that's a big model for them, and I don't know if they still do it, but it kind of helped them, push back into the light, because I think they still get approached now from publishers, but they kind of like having the freedom, not having to answer to that publisher.
My favorite. You go ahead.
I was just going to ask, that's always one of the things that I worry about, or that I wonder about when it comes to something like a Kickstarter. Are we giving bad ideas too much opportunity? Does that make sense?
I think in some cases, yes, but
I don't know. There's a lot of bad games coming out of the big companies.
Yeah.
Bad TV shows on TV, so.
I don't know. And Jeff,
that's a very good point.
And Jeff, I want to get your opinion on this part, because Carlos brought up a good point. Do you think, even with the Kickstarters like Tim Schafer and all of them are falling into the trap of like feature creeping a little bit, do you think because they don't have that publisher, some studios, maybe not them, but some studios get a little bit too lax because that publisher did get them to release games on time or try to get games out on time because you had that like publisher over your head, and I feel like it's like giving an artist free reign without an art director, really. If you think about it.
There's a Kickstarter, and it's just going to be called Online Panhandling. But but at the same time, like I really like it. I think it gives opportunity to ideas that just aren't going to make it in the big studios, right? Like
I agree.
EA is a little risk averse. Like it's a publicly held company.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's got to be a hit, so it's harder for them to take chances on small ideas.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think the best way I think to build a franchise or to build a studio is to start with a small game and start with a small idea, but do that idea really, really well and build on it. There's been some studios that have started and tried to right out of the gate compete with the big studios, and they can't do it because they try and do everything all at once, right?
Mm.
And the small idea games are the ones where I think Kickstarter and those types of funding sources are probably going to work best. What was the game? There's one that was made. It was called The Long Dark, I think. It just came out.
So yeah. That Kickstarter
came out.
Yeah, and that was funded through Kickstarter, I think. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful game. Like, it looks amazing, and the premise is incredible. And that couldn't have been made any other way, I don't think. So.
I do like how Sony and I think Microsoft has caught on to this a little bit more now, but like Sony was giving a lot of those young developers, or even they're grabbing people straight out of school, a little bit chances to put stuff out on their like PlayStation Network, or we had those games like Flower
Yeah.
and Journey and stuff like that. Those very artistic type of games, and I do like what Kickstarter does to those and bring those
Yeah.
out, or even the indie pool of having PlayStation's uh, uh, the PlayStation Store and Xbox One Store to like make way for those type of games for the indie developer.
I think that's going to be where they start developing the next big ideas, right? Is through those options, just to see something like Journey come out and be so beautiful and be such an interesting, just such an interesting experience that they opportunities. I could see those morphing into something else down the road, which I think is awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Do you think being a gamer helps people be successful in when trying to break into the game industry?
Yeah, I think it's critical. I think you have to know what you're building for. Like, say, if you're an animator, understanding the difference between animating for film and animating for games, and having an opinion at least around what you like and what you think works well and what doesn't, is really important. Environment artists, like understanding how your work is going to fit in. It's just so different from any other medium that and it's so specific, right? So I think it's really critical that you have an opinion and you have you've got a sense of what's working in the market and what you like, and those types of things.
Yeah, being able to work with design and your environment flowing so it tells a story, helping to tell a story. That flow is really interesting, and sometimes that comes with not only just the designer's point, but more so the environment artist, because you're kind of like dictating how that script is being written without having to say a thing.
Yeah, we've been hiring some kids out of some of the schools here in Vancouver in the last little while, and it's amazing. Like, when you interview these kids, their knowledge around what's on the market in terms of like indie games and the bigger titles, why is to hire them, really, because they bring that kind of passion and knowledge into the studio that we tend to lose if we're really insular and always working on our game. And we've been doing our thing for a really long time, and we don't have time to play games. And these kids come in and they have so much, such a broader understanding of what's on the market right now.
It's always amazing to me when you go to a college and all these kids, I mean, they know things just to throw it in each other's face.
Yeah.
Just to brag. Yes, I know the last 25 people that were listed under the credits of the game that happened 15 years ago. Like, no one even cares, but damn.
I know, and it's terrifying. You hire these kids, and you're like, oh my God, you know more than I do.
Yeah.
What I have is experience, but the knowledge is yours, right?
Mm-hmm. And speaking to that, how do you, since millennials, if you will, are totally different than how they were maybe back, those that graduated back when I graduated back in 2004, even when you came into the industry, looking at new young artists and stuff like that. How has that been? How have you had to change your approach in trying to get the best out of them in terms of like day-to-day tasks? Since they are coming in with a lot more knowledge, so sometimes I found even when teaching that could be a little harder to guide them.
I haven't. What's funny is over the years, always working with. Man, I sound old. Oh, this is depressing now.
If it makes you feel
I feel
any
the same
better,
way.
every time you're telling this story, I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
My approach is always the way I tend to art direct. I'm not the person who knows more than anybody else in the room, so I don't. Even the kids that are coming out of schools, they're going to come in uh, just hitting the ground running. I haven't really noticed a big difference between the kids that are coming in now and the kids that came in, let's say, 10 years ago. They all come in really passionate. They all come in wanting to make a difference and wanting to make a great game. And right now we've got a batch at our studio that are they want to learn, and they're just soaking it up. There's a few people I can think of off the top of my head right now who are just like, anything you throw at them, they're just super eager. What I'm finding now with kids is the ones that I'm meeting anyway have a lot of life experience. Like they've traveled a little bit, and now they've gone to this school, and they're doing this, and they're bringing a lot of their own experiences into the studios, and so there's actually a kind of a maturity to them, which is really nice, and but they really just want to learn how to make a game, and so all the technical things they're picking up, all the things that sort of like help set priorities on art or on game features they're picking up. Like I really like bringing in some young blood into the studio to help keep things fresh.
Mm-hmm.
As an artist, just in general, you don't even have to be in the gaming industry. Just go hang out at a college, and go sit in on an art class somewhere.
Yeah.
The information that flows through a class is ridiculous. These kids have ideas, and everyone wants to work on something, and this and that and the other, and I know how to do this, and I got the latest software for that, and look at, I built my own, mega underwater super gaming system, and like there's always something happening.
Yeah.
And it's because they don't know how to sleep anymore.
Yeah. It's just enthusiasm, right? It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's invigorating. It's really cool to go in, because if you're in the industry, whatever industry it is that you're in, you get battle tested, and you get salty, and you know the truth, and you get tired. You get tired of the truth. But go to a class. Go, and I'm not saying go there and know people. Please, just don't be randomly showing up to people's classes and stuff. But just go and hang out, and or go to like a user group, because Charlie was actually at one just tonight. But and just listen and pick up, and exactly what Geoff was saying. These kids have so much knowledge that they bring, and it's not like you're talking to a bunch of dummies. You have to be careful, because they'll prove to you that you're the dummy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. I get proved I'm a dummy every single day.
No.
And that's even before I leave the house.
Yeah.
What's your earliest memory of being a gamer?
Oh, being a gamer.
Or at least
Like
getting that
ColecoVision.
little bite of the gaming bug.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm old. So I'm not going to tell you about the first time I played Pong, but I did.
But I did.
I had one of those too.
We were on like a trip to California, my family, and I remember we were in this hotel, and there was like a tabletop Pong. I love that thing so much. But yeah, like when I was in high school, I had a ColecoVision, and it was it was Donkey Kong and Miner 2049er and those types of things. And when I was in high school, it was that and the arcade. And at the time, the big games in the remember were Space Ace and Dragon's Lair and
my favorites.
Nice.
I love those
Right?
games. Oh my
they
god.
were so good. They sucked as games. Like they really did.
Yeah, it's like
You turn to the
Like,
left, you turn to the right. Okay, we get it.
And then you're doing it right when you're supposed to, and it kills you, and you're like, I did it. Anyway, that's me.
I swear I did it.
game's cheating.
Let it out, Jeff. Let it out.
Yeah.
But that game was like, they had that game, there was the machine, and then they had a big screen, like a projector screen, and they hooked up the game to that screen because there were so many kids who just wanted to watch other people play it, right? Like it was,
Mhm.
that was a huge, yeah.
Such
I spent a lot of time here. Yeah.
I have some notes here as far as you being a motorcycle rider.
Ooh.
Yeah. This is where we switched to me being cool.
Yes.
Awesome,
Bring
yeah.
you back. Yeah, actually, Charlie and I used to ride bikes when I lived in Chicago all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a good
The
time.
Yamaha R6. I drove those fast bikes. I was a nice person, though.
I had a couple of buddies in the industry actually who I worked with at EA, who I used to ride with all the time, and it was so much fun. Like we'd leave the studio at lunch and we'd local ski hills,
Yeah.
do that, and go on big rides on the weekend. It was really fun. Yeah.
What bike do you have?
I have a Triumph, Speedmaster. Yeah.
Nice big ones.
I've had yeah, it's good. I've had it way too long. Every year I keep telling myself I'm going to trade it in or get a new one, and I can never bring myself to do it. I love it too much.
Guess you just got to buy another
I've
one.
got like,
I know,
I
right?
think I've got friends who like go through a new bike every single year, but I've been hanging on to this thing since 2007.
Yeah. How did they do that? They're just going in. Oh, got a good deal. Trade this one in. Get a new one.
Yeah, like for me, that's like I can't. It's too big of a move. Like I just can't do it. It's bad enough. Like it feels like it costs enough just to get an oil change. That's enough. I don't need to go with refinancing and getting something.
So yeah, they're refinancing each year probably too because they're not paying off the bike and then buying a new one. Like just rolling it over.
I don't even think I told Charlie this one yet, but I changed the oil on my motorcycle once, and I had the oil pan to catch all the oil, right?
This is good.
And it was the bike was a little too low and obviously too heavy to pick up, and I was like, I'll just kind of put it there. I spilled all the oil all over the driveway.
Yes.
I was like, and I had my condo. It was in the back over, but people are like, what the? I'm like,
So crazy.
put it all back together, and
Yeah.
that's my motorcycle.
I'm pretty cool with not being handy at all. So,
You send it in.
I don't even know much about the bike. Like people will stop.
Jeff, what are you doing?
Jeff was like, this is the brake.
Yeah. Let's see, is this a 900? And I say, yeah, it's a 900. That's about the extent of my knowledge. And then I say, is it air cooled or it's like, I don't know, maybe.
Do they look at you with a blank stare?
Cool in the air.
Like,
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay. It runs, dude.
Yeah,
I like
don't even know. Yeah, there's a bunch of there's a whole bunch of people I know who like to buy old bikes and fix them up, and And they're the guys that I always see who are broken down on the side of the road at some point, but they're just under their tink.
That's it.
I like riding a bike. I don't like fixing a bike, which is good because I can't. So
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
My buddy Patrick also rides bikes. You give him crap because he waited about a year, two years after I got rid of mine to get one, and he's really into it. So he's into the Harley thing. So he has
Yeah.
he has like
Now
4
he's
of
into
them
the
now.
Harley thing.
Yeah.
He's annoying.
He's into Harley. He's been into the Harley thing, I should say, like that when he got his bike. But like he has a bunch of different types now. One's like the old crank where he has to actually crank the bike to start the motor and stuff like that. But I think bike riding's cool. I think everybody should do it once in their life.
There was a group of us that would ride motorcycles just almost every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick was like, no, whatever. And Patrick does motion graphics for like motion pictures and stuff like that. He's super successful. So it's not like he didn't have the money and stuff. And we're like, Patrick, get your motorcycle. And then he finally got his motorcycle, and I think it was like maybe a week or two before I moved to California. I'm like, thanks, bud. Good night riding with you.
You know, I think riding's super cool.
I love it.
Even here in Illinois, like I've seen some on my long trips. You know, we went up to a place called Lake Galena. They do a lot of like snowboarding up that way, and then just even the smaller trips, like the one me and Carlos took to Rockford, but we took a back way, just like back roads. Like it just felt like it wasn't in Illinois anymore. Like it literally, it looked like I was back home in Indiana for a couple seconds, and then it looked like when I went to Galena, it literally looked like I was up in like Washington somewhere, up in the mountains and stuff, where there's no guardrail. It's just it goes straight down, into the valley. And I was like, this is Illinois. This is crazy, But I know. Carlos and my other buddy Wes has taken trips across the country and stuff like that, and done some longer ones where they froze their butt off. But
yeah, we rode from Denver to Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, and it was funny because every time we stopped for gas or whatever, we're like, "What's going on?" We checked the forecast and it's supposed to be nice. They're like, "Yeah, it's unseasonably cold." We're like, "Yeah, it is." It was miserable. It was fun, but it was miserable.
I mean, that a buddy who he'd do road trips like that, but he'd always do them in like October, and he'd talk about going down the coast from Vancouver down to like Oregon, and he'd say, "Oh, I was going over the pass, and it was snowing, and it was crazy," and he'd have all these big stories, and I said, dude, like maybe you should just wait until the summer instead of like October through the mountains is not a great idea.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone on a long trip on your bike?
The longest was I rode over to the Kootenays, which is like how long is it? Maybe 12 hours east of here.
Oh wow.
With a buddy, and then we just did road trips through there and then down through the States and back, and yeah, that was the biggest one I've done. Like I was saying to you, I really want to do a trip down the Pacific Coast Highway down to San Francisco.
I've heard about that one. Yeah, it's supposed to be really nice. Yeah.
I've driven it, but I've never ridden it.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that you do is you write articles for CG Society.
Yeah, that was like that was a weird fluke. I ended up I started writing some stuff because I figured I just wanted to start writing, and it was something I always wanted to try. So I've got my own website, Sadochicken.com.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
And so I wrote a few things, and then they were more personal, and then one, and I'll just draw something to go along with it. And then I did one called How to Be an Art Director. And it was just a bunch of tongue-in-cheek stuff about how to use really nonsensical words when you're trying to give feedback on things.
It's such a funny article.
Yes.
Like that's the key. You do something and then you leave immediately. Like,
Yeah.
make it more raisin bran, and then I got a meeting. I gotta go.
And then Jet.
I need to show more feeling.
And then,
Make it pop.
yeah,
Yeah.
always make it pop. That's a standard one. And then so that got picked up by Taxi.com, which is a design site. And then I think Travis at CG Society must have seen it. So he just emailed me and asked me if if I'd be interested in writing a column. And that was something just about video games.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I've always meant to do. But I figured I'd wait until I was actually out of games, because I was afraid I was really going to piss everybody I work with off. So I figured I'd wait until I was out of the industry before I did that. So, but they asked, and the first couple were sort of, kind of a bit softer, but as I've gone along, no one's really gotten mad at me yet, so I just kind of keep going.
Just keep going. That's awesome.
I just keep pushing it a little bit. So like last week, I wrote one about the 5 different types of concept artists, and I figured I'd walk into work the next day and there'd be all these horrible drawings of me on my desk when I got in. But they're pretty good-natured. They took it all in stride, so that was good. I'm gonna make sure I don't do one about programmers yet, because those guys are mean.
Yeah.
Mad at you, right? They won't
Every single programmer I've ever dealt with thinks that they're God and they're never wrong, and it works on my machine. And I'm like,
it works on my build.
Yeah.
My build's perfectly fine. Mine's not broken. What did you do?
Mine's not broken. What'd you break? Exactly.
Hey, what did you break?
So what are the 5?
Yeah,
what are the 5 personalities of concept artists? Do you remember right offhand?
there's because I've worked with all of them. There's the angry one.
Yes.
You're just like, hey, so this was really cool, but maybe we could change it. And then they get really mad, and they've always done all their research. Like, they know how it's supposed to look, and they get really just sort of frustrated with how dumb I am. And usually with them, the angry ones are usually the scared. And then there's the opposite end, which is the scared ones. And those guys are usually more they're maybe less confident with some stuff that they're working on. Maybe they aren't really tight with the concept, with the subject matter, but you'll give them a bunch of ideas and to say, like, just thumbnail a bunch of ideas, and then when you come back later on the day, and they're not going to show you anything, and then like a week later, they're still like, yeah, it's almost ready. Just hang on. I just need to work on it a little bit more, and they don't want to show anything until it's perfect, but they're so freaked out about it, it'll never be perfect. So a few of those guys, and those are fun to work with, because it's really good to get them to try and get them to loosen up.
Mm-hmm.
They hate, because I tend to just go super loose thumbnails, just thumbnails. I get it, move on. And they hate showing their stuff. And then there's the cool ones. There's a guy that I work with. I'm not going to say his name.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be like, what's this all? Like, what is this? And he goes, just cool. It's really cool. Like, yeah. But that's not what I asked for. Remember all those things that we had to design and sort of figure out? He goes, yeah, no, I just figured this looked way cooler. And he's right. He's right. It was way cooler. And then people would see it and go, yeah, we should do that instead. Like, they would do these things,
and they just vindicated him.
And then just making that. It was cool. So
And that's when you turn into the angry art director.
Yeah, that makes it super hard for you because he's like, dude,
That's what I do this thing. What else did I have in there? There's a few other ones, but
The
but
angry one, the scared
the
one,
cool
the
ones
cool
always
one.
always got little tricks too, right? Like
right.
just throw like a few blues on something. Everything always looks good with light on it.
Blue, yeah. Just looks more sleek and
The quiet
Yeah.
one. There's the
The
quiet one.
quiet. Oh, there's been a few of those. Those ones are like. There was
Those
one
ones.
guy. I hope he doesn't hear this and take offense, but like literally that story I wrote about going up to him and being like, "Okay, I need this thing, and it's gonna have this, and it needs to go over here, and then this is happening, and then so this." He's just staring at me blankly the whole time, not saying a word. And then I get to the end, and there's this really long, uncomfortable pause. And this happened over and over again. Really long pause, and I'd be like. And in my head, I'm thinking, what did I say? What did I swear at him or something? Like, what happened? So does that make sense? Is that cool? And then he just goes,
Then he just look at my screen. Then he goes, where'd he go? Then he goes, do it.
I love this.
There's no way he got that. But he was,
So
I think he was just like, the picture was forming in his head while I was talking. And then he was
Led the process.
an incredibly talented guy. And then the next day, there it was, just completely perfect. So I was just like, I don't know how that guy's known.
now that I'm sharing my screen, I'm gonna flip through some of your artwork so people can see what we're talking about. So these are the 5 types. The cool one, yeah, that's cool.
I just love the cartoon version of him.
Yeah.
Isn't it priceless? You have the angry one.
Changes.
Not cool with changes. Yeah.
The scared one. He's
So
coddling
great.
the scared one.
Good.
Just needs a hug, reassurance.
The quiet one. He's just not even there.
His version face. He's like, "Are you all right?"
And then the normal one, which then makes Geoff freak out.
Yeah, the worst. You're just like, there's something there. Like, they always have some weird, like, because concept artists are different. They're just different from other artists that you work with. And the more normal they are, the more they have, like, they just have weird hobbies on the weekends, right? Like, just
And if you
super-
think Geoff is kidding, go to twitch.tv and watch any one of the creative channels and just let it ride. You will get every one of these guys to show up. These guys are there.
Yeah.
Do you have a personal favorite when it comes to working with any one of these personalities?
No, I think on any given project, I like working with all those guys. Like the scared guys are really good in terms of like working out what the best approach for them is, like how to develop their skills, how to sort of like bring them out a little bit. There's a few guys who I've worked with in the past who've been lacked a little bit of confidence, and just in spending some time with them, they've become really good. Not because of anything I've done, but because they've just sort of like gotten out of their way a little bit. They end up becoming like just really useful, talented guys. So, yeah. You're looking at my toast guy. Yeah.
I love your Instagram feed.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me. It's so funny to me. All of the stuff that you do on the side
Yeah.
is 2D work. Do you do 3D work at all?
I don't do any 3D work actually. It's all 2D. We were talking about Double Fine a while ago.
Producers.
One of those guys is my producer right now, and everyone else is sort of like an idea of a producer I'd worked with in the past, and I'm not telling anybody who any of them are.
I'm saying it's this guy right here with the glasses and on the bottom. He just looks like someone that exists.
He does
I know
exist.
that guy.
Yeah. A good amalgamation.
Yeah.
No, the guy I work with now is actually the guy with the beard.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see him too, yeah.
He's super fun to draw. Like he gets he looks over at my sketchbook because I'm sitting in meetings all day with him a lot of the times, and occasionally I might draw him, and he when he looks over and he sees it in my notebook, he knows that's ending up on Instagram later on. It has.
So do you find your inspiration from people that you know, or is it just kind of a situation where you're sitting there with a pencil and you just think it's going to be funny?
It's a little bit of both, but I find like I've had the best year last couple of years in terms of my own work, and a lot of it has been just from just getting out in the world a little bit more and spending more time in like all the hipsters I'm drawing right now. I live in an area in Vancouver or I hang out in an area in Vancouver where there's a lot of them. So like these guys are all over the place, and I love them. They're like so many top knots everywhere. It's so much fun to draw.
The glorious top knot. Just,
right?
Just want to cut it off.
The man bun, yeah.
Just want to cut it off. Just take the little ponytail, snip.
Have you guys seen the video of the guys who ran around? I think it was in Australia running around.
It's so glorious. I love that video. Before I knew that video was ended up being fake, I was just like giddy. That was one of those videos, Jack and Carlos, that me and Patrick would just like laugh at, because he's like, and you can think of Patrick being like, "It's so good, it's so good." And then we saw that it was fake. We're like, "Oh,
it was awesome."
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So I think in the last year, I've really decided to start putting more of my stuff out there on Instagram, and it's sort of gone from there. I think the first thing when I really saw that I could do something with it, I just took a bunch of and I think I just drew a bunch of zombies like a few years ago, and then this year, one morning I thought, well, maybe I'll just put them up on Instagram and see if anyone likes them.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, and people started liking them, and then I don't know, I just started doing it. So I get a little obsessed with it, as I am right now. So I'm trying to put stuff out there every day.
For your time-lapse stuff, what are you using to show that? Is that just are you sketching on your iPad, or is it like?
I've got a Cintiq companion, and so I use that, and then I've got a little tripod for my phone, and I just do the recording that way, and then speed it up, and that's it. Usually, people really like those. I'm surprised, actually.
People really like processes and seeing how other artists break things down.
I think so. I mean, I know I love watching people do that. Like, I love watching a drawing develop and just sort of try and get a sense of like where they start.
Mm-hmm.
It's always so different from where I start. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
staring at Carlos's screen.
I'm always a little self-conscious about my work, my drawings at work, just because I feel like most of the people I work with are incredibly talented, super detail-oriented, realistic artists. So I don't know. It's been fun to do.
So how does that translate, since you work mostly in like a cartoony style? How does, I mean, obviously you're mostly dealing with reviewing and instruction, but how does that translate into like a 3D super real environment?
I think it just means you have a couple of different sets of skills, really. Like um, the work that I do on my own is pretty non-transferable to work, but I've been an art director long enough that I've been able to sort of figure out and work with some other really good art directors to learn and sort through like what matters in a game, right? Like, so I could talk about like different lighting and rendering techniques or different ways to approach a super realistic scene, but that set of skills is super different from what I'm doing. It's just a different mindset, and it all depends on the kind of art director you are too, right? Like, there are some art directors who are really hands-on and they like to dive in and like show an artist how to do something. Obviously, because I don't do that, I come at it from a different angle. I like to try and sort of create a space with an artist so that they can be as creative as possible with their work. And usually that works. Like I try not to be too like I don't think like I have all the best ideas. It's more important for me to draw the ideas out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with the projects you've done for Capcom, what are some of the ones you've done for Capcom in the past? I know you can't talk about the ones under NDA for the current project, but what are some of the ones you've done in the past?
I've been at Capcom now for a little over a year, and the only project I've been on is the one I'm working on right now. Before I was here, I was at Relic.
Okay.
Worked on Company of Heroes 2, and before that, I was a bit of a game whore. I kind of jumped around a little bit. Like, I was at EA. I worked on every single SSX game.
Love those games, yeah.
Yeah, so I did the first 4 while I was there, and then I left the studio, and then I came back years later, just when they were rebooting it, and worked on it again. So, in all the time that I was at EA, probably like 11 years total.
Okay.
But I've only worked on SSX there and triple play baseball.
Okay. Nice. I like SSX. I thought that was a good franchise. I thought the reboot was really nice. I think they had one that was gold, but it's the one that EA Black Box worked on, and that was the Skate series. I really wish they would have just kept going with that, because I felt like they did something so different for the industry, for Skate. Because everybody was so big on Tony Hawk, and that I literally used that game with a couple buddies as like a way of like telephone, because you could just sit there and like free skate and talk. You didn't have to do no crazy trick. It was like, we're gonna go from this point to this point and skate, And
I remember when they were developing that. That was like the team that I was on was supposed to start on Skate, but they ended up splintering it off. So I stayed with SSX, and then that group started, and that was an incredibly talented group. And the way that they were just approaching like how to do the controls for that game was pretty unique.
Yeah, like I had a lot of buddies from EA Chicago that after that closed moved to Black Box, and we worked on a lot of the gesture-based controls with the analog sticks. We were the first to do those in the industry, and I love to see how that splintered off into every different game that you can think of. Nowadays everyone uses the analog sticks now, where before it was like frowned upon.
Big deal. Yeah. Yeah, so there, and then where else was I? I worked on Turok, had Propaganda. I was at Nexon, which was going to be like it was going to be free-to-play games back in 2007, before like anybody was really doing them here. And then Next Level did some stuff there, and wow, I've been at a lot of studios.
Yeah. So you So you did
That's
work
not
at
necessarily
Nexon?
a bad thing, though.
No, that's good.
Right.
A lot of
No,
different
it
experiences,
was
right?
good actually. It was good because it got like after 10 years at EA, it felt like branching out and trying different things. I've been able to work on like different platforms. I've done RTS games. I've worked on Wii titles, and I'm back working on a console title now. Yeah, it's been really good. You take a bunch of different things from each of those experiences and each of the new things that you do.
And how many
Very
different
cool.
studios does Capcom have?
Capcom has, they've got us, and we're like the only North American studio they have. They've got a publishing group down in LA, and then there's the studio in Japan. I think there's a couple studios in Japan. Which I actually went and visited a few years ago when I was with a different company, actually. It was really cool to see them work. Yeah.
I know we talked about this a little bit earlier before the show, but I wanted to get you on the record. Um, have you ever seen that game Cuphead?
Yes, Cuphead looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
it looks
it
like
does.
Like that,
Popeye in a game.
everyone has been sending me the link to that game in the last, the videos that are coming up for it. Saying, like, this is totally up your alley, and I can't believe how cool that game looks. Like, what a dedication to like a style, because that can't be easy to do.
Yeah. At work, we work in Unity, and like I'm still, now that I work in it, I'm still trying to figure out. I understand the sprite system and stuff, but I'm still trying to figure out how they did it, because I was like, this is like.
It's amazing.
And the scary part for me, and maybe I just haven't seen it again, but they showed their stuff at like GDC last year, and I haven't heard anything else. So I'm really hoping that there's something new.
That's what I'm scared of.
And they didn't realize, yo, we're doing frame by frame, and like it's gonna take us 20 years to get this done. But I'm just hoping that they're just like went silent on purpose because they're drawing frames.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be out this year,
It takes 20 years. I'm gonna be this very old man with my money. Just take my money.
Like they could. This is how games should be, Sonny.
Take my money.
Then they're gonna go on Indiegogo, and I'm gonna be broke again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're gonna be all old and like passing over our $20 bill, and they're gonna be like, "It's $7,000. Inflation is shit." What? Back in my
how much
day.
time and effort went into this game, and how it was meticulously curated.
Yeah. In a strange turn of events, when Trump takes over the White House, games go up to $7,000.
I was just talking about regular inflation.
There's no outsourcing.
It would be like, back in our day, it was only $50.
Because Trump says there's no outsourcing allowed. You have to make your games all by hand. The charge is the premium.
Because it's all in the wall.
But it's all American made. American sweatshops.
So Geoff, would you be interested in doing something like Cuphead, but using your style, the cartoony style that you have?
I would absolutely love to do something like that. Like that'd be such a great mix of the things that I do. Actually, that'd be kind of a mind-bending thing to be able to take like the stuff that I do on the side and the stuff that I do at work and be able to do those at the same time would be
and meld the two, yeah.
Yeah. I say we get together a pitch package. We got some connections at Capcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be the perfect.
I say we pitch that idea.
I know a guy.
I know a guy.
That knows a guy.
He directs art at.
I had this idea the other day. I was all hot for it. I was going to make a game about making a game, and it was just going to be like you get to pick your characters, and they're all like programmers and art directors and development directors and producers, and they all have their own. And then I started drawing it, and I thought, I don't know if anyone's going to get this.
I don't know. I can see it.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see it too. Because so what? Like, if you're building villages, you need what? Food.
Yeah.
You need protection. So if you're a developer, you need what? Mountain Dew and Doritos.
Yes, exactly. And everything, all of your stuff gets stored in in your cargo shorts because
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause
everybody.
everyone has cargo shorts. Yeah.
Or you could do it. You could do it like Legend of Zelda or like Earthbound, and it's like the top down, and all you're like going through the cubicles, and you got the trail of like 12 people following you, and then you stop at someone's desk, and it's like, "What? You didn't finish it? Let's battle!" And then you like pencil attack.
Yeah.
Did you ever see a game that was on like years ago? It was on the Adult Swim website. It was called 3 Minutes to Kill Yourself or something.
Whoa, really?
Jeepers.
It was awesome. It
Got
was
real.
about a guy who's like stuck in meetings at work all day, and he has 3 minutes to go around the office and find something to like kill himself with. So he's whacking with a stapler, or like trying to slam his own head in a photocopier. It was pretty awesome.
I remember something like that where it was back when Flash was still the darling of the internet, and someone made a beat your boss.
Hey,
So your boss would say, "I need that report by 4 o'clock," and then you can pick up a baseball bat and just hit him over the head with it.
Too real.
Too real, yeah. All right, so now to liven it back up after we've given each other 3 minutes to kill ourselves, I think this is the perfect time for this or that.
Nice.
Geoff Coates, art director for Capcom and brilliant illustrator. This or that. This one probably doesn't make too much sense right now, but 2D or 3D?
2D.
Console games or computer games?
Console.
Do you say Wacom or Wacom?
I'm a Wacom guy.
Wacom. Okay. So you're wrong.
you're wrong. Carlos, keep it to your this or that session.
I know, right? Okay, how about this? How about Adobe Creative Studio or Adobe Creative Cloud?
I don't know the difference.
A little bit of a difference.
I want to say Creative Cloud, but I haven't done it yet. But I would love to.
Yeah. And the big difference is you buy the Creative Studio, and that's it. Creative Cloud. Like
Is that what they call it? The Creative Studio?
Yeah, creative. Well, the CS, all those. That's what happened before
that's what that
they
stands for.
mandated the membership. Yeah.
I don't know that's what that stood for.
You wanna get into a really good discussion? Ask DaCosta, Creative Cloud or Creative Studio.
Yeah.
And then make sure you have plenty of coffee and time. He will. Yeah, he's not a fan of Creative Cloud.
No, I worked with him actually a few years back.
With
DaCosta? DaCosta, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked with him up here in Vancouver.
Yeah, he lives up there.
Yeah, I think when I was at Nexon, we were working on a little project together. Super nice guy.
He's alright, I guess. Don't make his head way too big.
He's listening to this. He's going.
He's like,
I want him to like send a message while we're talking. And I bet you he's.
I wouldn't be surprised if I did get a text. He's like, I'm hearing you. Like,
hey,
okay, just kidding. DaCosta, you know we love you, dude. Relax. Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat?
Oh, that's a loaded question. He has to answer one way.
Come on. Good job.
Which one did you say?
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter.
He said it like, duh.
He's like, that's what it says on my check. Moving
I gotta
on.
go to work tomorrow.
Next question.
Can you
The
imagine?
Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead?
What's the difference?
It's like Creative Studio versus Creative Cloud.
We're going deep.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Do you watch either? Do you watch either one of them?
I watch Walking Dead. I started reading the comics like 8 years ago, and was super excited about the show. I'll watch the show all the time, like no matter what. My son will he just goes on about how boring it is, like he hates it. Nothing happens. We just talk to each other all the time. But I haven't seen the spin-off, so I don't really know. I'm gonna go with this Walking Dead.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't even know if this one is even going to work. Do you guys have State Farm up in Vancouver?
No. Go ahead.
Doesn't
I
even
watched
matter.
It's an American company.
All right. No, I know, but you
there-
don't know. Like, watch this.
Isn't
Hey,
the-
Jeff, do you
isn't
guys
all-
have Taco Bell in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See? Thank you.
But isn't all the
I don't know how
isn't all
far.
the
You're in fast food. Okay.
no, but isn't all the insurance owned by the government? Or at least the car?
No, the insurance is, most of it is. But the third,
Yeah.
it is.
No.
He's like, that's a Canadian secret. We can't. Otherwise, he gets his car taken
You
away.
gotta come up here and see.
That's the only reason Canada works. Is that right there. Okay, last one. This one will make sense to the American audience. Go ahead and write into the show. Let us know. Do you prefer Jake the Snake Roberts
You're so stupid.
or Jake from State Farm?
You're so stupid.
That is so dumb.
I'm going to take Snake Roberts.
Hang on, I got one. I got the real question for somebody that works at Capcom. This or
Yeah.
that. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, I start. Or down, Z, F, X, A, Y, B, C.
You thought mine were dumb.
You don't have to, you don't have to answer that.
That is a good one, though. I do like that one. That's clever. Yeah, left, right. Oh God, that was a good one. Jake from State. So to clarify, I don't know if
Yeah.
you probably haven't seen this commercial if you guys don't have State Farm, but here in America, there's an insurance company named State Farm, and there's this commercial where the guy is talking to State Farm, and the wife comes down because it's the middle of the night, and she's like, "It's the middle of the night. Who are you talking to?" And he's like, "It's Jake from State Farm." She's like, "What's he?
Jake from
what's he
State
look
Farm,
like,
really?
or whatever?"
What's he wearing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's he
I've
wearing?
actually seen that commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, you
So-
too.
It's I need.
She takes the phone and she says, "Who is this?"
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm? Khakis.
He sounds hideous.
She,
Oh, she sounds
She
hideous.
sounds hideous.
well, that's because
Well, she's a he.
she's a man.
She's a man.
So it's a good thing we went all that far because the selection was Jake the Snake Roberts, who,
Just
if you
for that.
don't know, is
Old school.
old school professional wrestler. Who
Yeah, that's
used
from when I love wrestling.
Me too. Like, how
Okay.
That
about
was a
that?
good
Let's
era.
talk about that.
That was
Like,
a
that
good
was
era.
back when Iron Sheik
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Sergeant Slaughter were going at it.
Sunday mornings were the best time. I hated it because I had to go to church right when it came on.
Sunday mornings and Thursday nights.
Yep. I always know it was good when we didn't go to church because I'm sitting there watching it and no one's called me to get ready to go, and it's getting closer and closer. I'm like, yes. Just stay and we
Yeah.
watch it. It was glorious.
And then you would be like right when it started going, you're like, maybe they forgot. Maybe we're not going to church. And they're like, all right, Charlie, get in the car. You're like, dang!
Or I'm laying in bed Sunday morning, and you just want to be real still. Hopefully, you get to sleep, just laying there, just sleeping in. You don't move for like an hour. Okay, it's 8:30. Yes, it's 8:45. Cool. 9 o'clock. I think it's gonna happen today.
9:01. Charlie, get
We're gonna be
up.
late. Hurry up.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to the late service. No, but
So let's go back to Sadochicken.
Oh God.
.com.
Yeah. Com.
Yeah, if you go to sadochicken.com, you'll be able to see Jeff's handiwork, which is, again, I'm a huge fan. And I told you before the show I was excited that you're really cool and decided to come on the show because I got to meet you, and that's one of the benefits of doing this. I get to meet people that I really like. So, sadochicken.com, what's that all about?
Okay, so so a while ago, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I had this idea. Actually, you know what? It was probably like 4 years ago. I had this idea that I was looking for something to draw just in the evenings, just something super fast and fun. I go on Facebook, and I would just start scrolling through people's status updates. And like 4 years ago, people actually updated their status. You know, like they didn't just post links or whatever, which is what usually happens now, but people would write something, and then I would just take whatever they wrote, and then do a drawing on it, and then tag them on it, and then post it on Facebook.
That's
So
an
I'd always
awesome
like,
idea.
yeah. So I try and like misinterpret like what they were saying, and so then there was this one woman who wrote something about, what did she write? It was like nothing like oiling the back door to get rid of a squeaky something. And I was like, okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So
Excuse me, sir.
I just drew these two dudes, like who were naked. They were doing stuff, but you couldn't see anything because there were black bars over their eyes and basically over everything. And then I put her status update at the bottom of it. So I drew these guys, and you could kind of see a few little things, but not much. And then I didn't know what else to put in there. I wanted to draw one more little thing, so I drew a chicken in a pair of pumps. And then I drew a black bar over the chicken's eyes. And I had a friend who saw it and was like, Sadochicken! He loved it. He thought that was the greatest thing. So then I started putting the chicken in all the drawings, just randomly. And then when I launched my website, I was looking for a name for it, and that was the only thing I could come up with, and weirdly enough, Sadochicken wasn't taken.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a surprise.
It's weird, right? You'd think.
You would think. I would think that was taking yes.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
So that's how that happened. And so I made T-shirts this year, like with the chicken, and the chicken's like wearing pumps, and she's got nipple rings. I think it was a bit of a miscalculation because I did the shirts and it wasn't cheap, and then I put them up on the store on my site and stuff, and then it's pretty cartoony, but there's not a lot of people who want to buy a chicken with nipple rings.
There's not?
Not a lot of people want to buy those for their kids, so.
Oh.
I kind of want one, but
Yeah.
I have an issue.
They're still in stock, so.
Perfect. Nice to know. She's holding a whip.
Got a nine tail.
So good.
And a martini.
So good. Yeah. In a related story, I was coming home today from work, and there's just some chicken walking down the road. No lie.
Did you ask it why?
Yeah. She said, "Mind your business.
Yeah.
Pass me my nipple rings."
Asking why is it trying to
But
cross
yeah,
the
so it was
street?
just some random chicken walking down the road. I was like, no, I'm not going to be able to. This is information I will never need, and here I needed it.
I think it was a sign about what was to come later on.
And if you go to Sadochicken, S-A-D-O, Sadochicken.com, you will also notice that they are, or they meaning Geoff, is pre-selling Sadochicken robot T-shirts.
Mm-hmm. I get enough pre-orders, I'm going to print those up. So robots with underpants, everyone wants them.
So good.
Everybody wants them.
Do we need to like figure out what your motivation was to creating a robot wearing underpants?
Honestly, like I was drawing like about a year or two ago, I was drawing a robot, realizing like I am terrible at drawing robots because I realized my only point of reference for them is really Bender from Futurama.
Mm-hmm.
But then I drew it and was like, it needs a little something, and I just like
Yeah, a little something.
Yeah.
no, a little something unique. So I
Put some underwear on them.
Yeah, I actually drew a robot riding a motorbike through the desert a little while ago, and put it up on Instagram.
Oh.
Almost immediately, somebody commented on it and said, "Where are the underpants?"
Oh, look it! Now you're typecast.
Right?
Yeah.
I did this comic strip a couple of years ago now. I wanted to fit Jack into my comic strip, and so he was Jack in the box, and the little alien starts, rotating the handle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the robot is looking, and then Jack jumps out and scares the robot, and the robot is sitting on a pile of batteries because he
Nice.
pooped himself. That's still one of my all-time favorite My Comics.
That's awesome.
Speaking of robots and underpants and stuff like that, have you heard of March of Robots?
No, I have not.
No?
It sounds awesome, though.
Very briefly, and it's funny because we were talking about DaCosta earlier, but...
You're just trying to give him a really big head.
I know, right? So DaCosta was trying to get this social art challenge off the ground. And, well, the story goes he wanted to do it in October, and it was Bottober, but then I guess Jake Parker created Inktober, so DaCosta moved it to March, so there's going to be a March of Robots. And so for every day of March, you create a new robot. Yeah, so that's where my brain went, because it's March and you had a robot with underwear, and I was just wondering if you were going to participate in that.
I'm in. Just let me know where to send it.
You just do a robot and tag it March of Robots.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
Yeah,
since
you
you
can put
know
it on
DaCosta,
Instagram.
you should tag DaCosta too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
chocolate soup.
That's
Two
right.
O's, no you. He's like, yes, free publicity. No, he is a really good friend of the show. He's sat in on the show a few times on the panel as well.
I watched a few of the episodes. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a real good guy.
Yeah.
But have you heard of Inktober at least?
Inktober, yes, which I've done, and I actually I did it this year, and I ended up going into Inkvember because my Cintiq broke down. I had to ship it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love Inktober. It was awesome.
I was going to ask you your opinion on these different social art challenges.
I think anything like that that gets people sort of drawing together and helps sort of bring more people into um, a scene where they can get their stuff seen, a scene where they can get it seen, um, is nothing but good. You know, like I think there's so much talent out there that we don't get to see sometimes. That these things are perfect for it.
Yeah.
And even if it's not for to find a job or whatever, how many people do you run into when you tell them, "Oh yeah, I'm an art director and look at all my artwork that I have"? They say, "Oh yeah, I used to draw."
Yeah, so
How
many, right?
heartbreaking is that?
Yeah.
You know, the ones who like that bothers me the most are kids. Like when I talk to kids who feel like they can't draw, and there's always a certain age where they just stop, right? Like when my kids were little, they I would go into their classes in like the second grade. I think in both their cases, I went into their classes during the second grade, and that seemed to be the time when kids would either stop drawing or keep drawing. And um, I love sort of working with those kids to sort of help them just kind of push through all the fears and insecurities around how they're drawing because they're not doing it the way they want to or the way that they envision it being, and helping get them to do it more. Because there's nothing worse than like when you get older and you feel like, oh, I can't really draw.
Right.
And people think talent is just this God-given thing, like you know how to draw. I'm like, no, it's because you do it all the time. I think the talent is more just the love of doing it than anything else.
Yeah. It does have a tendency, or it does look like some folks are just, it comes more naturally to them. But that's just how it is sometimes. There's some people that pick up a baseball and it just makes sense. There's people that play a piano and it just makes sense. But it's that passion that you were talking about, that connection to whatever it is that you're doing that keeps you doing it, that makes you excel.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it was just like, I was just a wheezy little asthmatic kid and I couldn't play sports, so I just sat and saw drew all the time and read Mad Magazine. Yeah.
Speaking of which, have you ever thought of doing like a web comic or a comic strip at all?
Those
Comic book?
these days now, yes. It's funny. I've been so focused on my career in the last 10 years. It feels like in the last 4 or 5 have been the period where I really wanted to do more of these other things that I'm doing now. And so I'm kind of open to doing anything. And I'd actually love to do a webcomic. Somebody mentioned that to me last year, and I've been thinking about it a lot, actually. And that's where a lot of those articles that I've been doing for CG Society and on my own website came from, was just that idea. But I found that I was writing more than a comic, so it ended up being articles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's a lot of fun. It gives me something to draw all the time. Because if I'm sitting around, I think to myself, "Oh, what do I draw?" I have something to go to.
Yeah.
You know. So it always helps to have that focal point. I've slowed down a little bit just because Jack and I have this thing going, and the process project going, and the sketch zone thing, and I've been driving a lot for work now, so that sucks. But still, that's why everything I'm buying now is just mobile. I have a companion, I have an iPad, I have all that crap.
Yeah, the companion has been like just a complete switch in sort of how and where I work. Like being able to take it, my wife and I will just sometimes just go sit in the coffee shop for a few hours and I'll draw, or like just the mobility of it has been amazing. And the output, I think my output in the last year has been way more than I've ever done before, partly because of that.
You're really consistent too.
Yeah.
You're putting out at least once a day or once every other day at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to. What I do is I tend to wake up really early anyway. So most mornings I'll get up around like 5 or 6, and I'll spend an hour and a half or so doing something. Either it's going to be pieces for CG Society, or more often than not, I get the anxiety of like I gotta put something on Instagram. So I'll just, always. So I'll just do something, and that's how I stumbled on doing those time lapse drawings.
Yeah.
Was well, like I don't have enough time to work on a really finished piece, but I can just whip out a really stupid little something now, and there is something appealing about just doing a process for it. So I'll do those really quickly, and now my wife and I, like, most of our evenings are spent creating. She's got her own website, and her own artwork that she does.
What does she do?
She is. It's funny, like you were talking about people who are like, I can't, feel like they can't draw, and she's so talented. She's got a website called the515.com, and then her Instagram account, and she'll put up her work on there. She just has a really cool style, and she's got great taste. So she'll always be doing something there. And then she's been starting to get a lot more attention lately, and has started her own web design and sort of branding business. So it's been good. So that's kind of how we spend our evenings now. It's a nice little creative outlet for both of us.
It's really neat that that you found that kindred spirit that actually understands where you're coming from, your need to create.
That was it's like hitting the jackpot, really. I thought before I met her, well, maybe, like, best I could hope for is that I'll be with somebody who will tolerate me drawing, a lot. Tolerate me sitting in front of a Cintiq for a long time. But she not only tolerates it and supports it, she does it herself, and we're always talking and looking at what each other is doing, and like we can't believe it sometimes. Like we're so amazed that this is what we're doing with our lives, and we push each other too. Right? So she looks at my stuff and makes suggestions, or the fact that she keeps working, she's super hard working. That every time I want to like put it down and just start binge watching something, I see her just cranking away on stuff, and I just, okay, I go get my Cintiq and I keep at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, her Instagram feed is instagram.com/THEFIVE and then the number 15. The 515. That's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's really bright and colorful and fun.
Oh, believe me. I'll see it.
Yeah. And it's fun watching her style evolve too. Like when we got together, she was like, she had stuff that she was doing, but I watched her illustration skills and just grow like crazy in the last year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, kids. That's it for me. Do you guys have any questions for Geoff?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Geoff?
Mm-hmm.
This or that? No.
How do you feel about how much have you seen or follow with the whole Street Fighter game? Because I know you're not on it, but
maybe he is. He's on an undisclosed project.
Maybe he is. Well, the one just came out. 5 just or like the
maybe
new one
he's
just
on the next one, the new and better one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
How do I feel about it? I am super stoked about Capcom having such a great title out.
Mm-hmm.
It's good for us, in Vancouver. It's good for the company as a whole, and I can't wait to play it. I haven't got it yet. We're all getting copies.
So how does that work? Like, obviously, since there's a couple different studios, I always wondered, was that solely they got across the pond, or is some of the studios like in Vancouver or maybe some of the marketing stuff out in LA, are they helping out any, or is that totally on the other side? You know, because I know they're big into the esports and the fighting FGC community, right? And they have like former players or whatever working for them now in terms of the capacities of design and like marketing. But like, is that any at where you at, or is that other places?
Not right now. Like Capcom, we're going through a phase now where we're really recognizing how important it's going to be for us to have all the different studios communicating and connecting more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that's just starting now. So in answer to the question, no. Like there hasn't been a lot of crossover between what we're working on and what they're working on, and so we don't see a lot of it. But we get updated and stuff.
Oh, okay, I see. Is your studio a one game studio, or you guys have multiple titles in development?
We have time for
I'm like tiptoeing right now. I'm seeing what I can get away with, but I just had to try. Okay, cool. I'm done.
Goofy.
I told you I was going to try.
He said,
I love Street Fighter. I follow the community. I'm a big Street Fighter player from one of the games that got me into gaming a little bit. But I wanted to do film and stuff coming out of school and animation. But when I did venture into games, I thought, Capcom would be a cool company.
It is a really cool studio. And again, like I said, like I'd gone over there when I was with a different studio, and we were pitching a title to Capcom with one of their IPs. And I'd gone over there, and I got to see them working on Resident Evil.
Yes. Okay.
And to see some of the stuff while it was being made in progress, like it was really, really cool. Like some of the ideas they come up with over there are incredible.
Yeah. In college, it took me 3 years to nail down, and this is back in, let's say, 2000, 2002, because I used to do the con circuit and stuff like that, and you do a little bit of the anime thing, but I was more so in it for the art books of whoever made the art book, and it took me a solid 2 years to get our original version of the Art of Capcom, like the entire thing, the thick thing. Yeah. Even the obscure games that they've done, No,
it's incredible. Like, we have those in the studio, and I look through some of those, and it's amazing how many games that company has put out over the years.
Yeah, you start to you think you know all of them, and you're like, "What is this? Who is this?" And then you realize it's some obscure game that only came out across over in Japan, and had a run of like 2 years. Yeah. But the artwork and like the character design is like amazing. Like if you get your hands on a copy, guys, of the Art of Capcom, it needs to be in your like library, no matter if you play games or not. My art book library, I think I can rival some of the greats. They're mostly in boxes right now.
Some of the greats.
They're mostly in boxes right now, but I can't wait. One of the things I can't wait to have is to get a bookcase again. Throw it up behind me, right? So I can have a bookcase in my new office when I get a house, and put all my nice art books back up. And be like, what do you need? And just pull one off. But yeah, Art of Capcom is a great
Charlie Public Library.
Yeah, it's great. Carlos, if you would look through it, you'd be like, yo. Oh, cool! I'm gonna draw for like the rest of the night. It's just so inspirational. It's cool.
Capcom is a great company because they really focus on the character. Like other studios tend to have different types of focuses, but Capcom, I think, is really focused on making that main character be as iconic and cool as possible. Yeah.
And it's not skimpy either. Like this book, like the page could have like 60 different characters on it, like sketches and stuff like that. Like, and it's like that thick, So it's not even like filled up with like a bunch of filler. I'm nerding out right now, but it's the
you're
I held
pretty energetic.
But yeah, I'm done.
And breathe. So I think Charlie really likes where you work.
Maybe.
At least the art
Hey,
coming
I
out
kept
of
it together, didn't I? Though I was asking good questions.
it.
Could have went in right away.
The seams
Could've went
were
full
the
Art
seams were
Studios.
expanding, Charlie.
Mhm.
You're about to bust out at the seams. So Jeff,
Yes, sir.
if people are looking for you and to check out your artwork and stuff online, where can they find you?
On Instagram, I'm Geoff.Coates, I think.
You are. You're right. You were correct.
Yep.
I am
And it's
correct.
Jeff Geoff.
Geoff.Coates, Coates, on Instagram, and that's probably you're going to find more of the most up-to-date stuff. cgsociety.org is where my column shows up, usually every couple of weeks. And for a bunch of my other just sort of random things, other writing and drawing and T-shirts that you really need to have, Sadochicken.com.
Nice.
Excellent. Thank you again so much for being so cool
Yeah.
and coming on the show.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Fun. Yeah.
I was definitely super excited to have you on. And now your wife has a new follower on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that.
There you go. Then the 3 people that actually listen to the podcast may actually follow her too.
All you guys got to do is start a Kickstarter, and Carlos is on board.
Carlos will follow you anyway.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It's ridiculous. I have an
How
issue.
many times have you used that cooler?
Did you even get it yet?
I've used it. Yeah. I got it. And then the funny thing is, I think I told you guys this story. So then so Jeff, I got the coolest cooler. I don't know if you've heard of this thing, but it's pretty amazing.
Oh, wait. I think I saw something about the coolest cooler.
Yeah.
You're one of those? You got
Yeah.
Ah,
I got one.
see, you knew that.
I got one, and it's pretty amazing. I'm not going to lie.
So he's used it once.
So I used it a couple times, but the first time we don't have a blender, and so I took the blender part of it, and I wanted to make a protein shake, so I put some peanut butter in there, and I put some chocolate protein powder, a little soy milk, some ice. I put it down on the cooler, and I pull the trigger, and it goes, "Bang," and broke.
Oh, because it's not. Because it's a cheap blender.
A split second. So then, long story short, I had to take the motor out, send it back. They sent it back, and then so it works now. And I made plenty of protein shakes.
Nice.
Charlie B. Williams, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me at cargocollective.com/Charlie B. Williams. You can find me on Instagram at CharlieBW3, and as well as Twitter, CBW3, and then that almighty Pinterest page is CharlieBW3, and Facebook is CharlieBW3 also.
And Jack Kasperzak.
I am at sketchbookjack.com and sketchbookjack everywhere else, including Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, all that stuff, Twitter.
Yay!
And I'm at theprocessprojects.net.
Net. Yes, check that out. That's a lot of fun. Like I said before, I learned so much off of that, and I'm part of it. Anyway, I am Carlos Gomez. You can find me at carlosrgomez.com, or if you're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, you can find me under the name Coconut Justice. This is the Sketch Zone podcast. You can find us at sketch.zone. And hey, we got something new coming out. We have this new page. It's sketch.zone/guest.
Get up on there.
If you haven't noticed, I find people that I like Jeff, and then I ask them if they want to come on the show. And so the show is very much tailored to me and my likes. Charlie kicks in and Jack kicks in. But if you're out there and you're listening and you know someone who would be interested, or if you're an artist out there and you're interested in being a part of the show, go to sketch.zone/guest and fill out the form, and we'll reach out to whoever it is that you want us to reach out to. But if you're on Twitter, you can find us at SketchZone. You can go to facebook.com/thesketchzone, youtube.com/sketchzonepodcast, and as always, you can find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Geoff, again, so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It was
Have a
great.
good week, everyone.
That's awesome.
See you guys.
See ya.